Barak Yahuah. Barak Yahuah. Thank you, Master. All right. So I'm coming on here today. I just want to say shalom, shalom to those who are in the house of Yahshua. I also want to say shalom, shalom to those that will be watching this video and this testimony of me, Barak Yahuah, on how Yahuah delivered me out of darkness, bringing me into His marvelous light. Barak Yahuah. All esteem go to Yahuah. All esteem go to Yahuah. I did not do anything of myself. This is of Him and Him alone. Barak Yahuah, His mighty arm, His mighty hand in my life. And I just want to say, first and foremost, thank Yahuah for all that He has done and all that He continues to do as we walk this narrow path that leads to everlasting life. And I pray that He stays with us all, Barak Yahuah, all those who are walking according to His will and His righteousness right now, all those who are obeying Him, continue in the belief. And I just want you to stay encouraged to continue in the belief. Continue on this narrow path that leads to everlasting life. So without further ado, I just want to say, this is my testimony, Barak Yahuah, on how Yahuah delivered me and how He changed me, how He circumcised my heart, as He gave me a heart that was willing to obey Him, and not only willing to obey Him, but loving to obey Him in spirit and in truth, Barak Yahuah. So this is gonna probably be condensed, condensed because it's fairly lengthy as I go into it, Barak Yahuah. But without further ado, yeah. So my childhood, coming up young, real young, I could say third grade, you know what I'm saying? I can go back to third grade, and then obviously it's gonna be some skipping around and stuff, and but third grade, I remember the rebellious in me, the rebellion in me as a child, Barak Yahuah. I picked up the habit of stealing early, real early, real early. I'm talking second, third grade. I don't know how I picked this up, but I know how. But in that regards of watching, I'm pretty sure it got shown to me, and the adversary is definitely after the children, and I picked up this ruach of stealing, taking things that was not mine, very manipulative. And I remember I called myself having some little girlfriend in third grade, and they had like they had like a store at my school, at this elementary school, where they would bring we would go shopping at this store. It was like a little candy store, and I knew exactly where they put the money at this candy store, for the candy store. It was in the teacher's lounge. And I used to go in that lounge every early. I used to go early in the morning to this lounge, and I knew exactly where the money was at this candy store in elementary school. I kept it to myself. I remember I used to go in there, and they used to keep the money in the microwave, and I used to open the microwave and pull out this little safe and take the money out and put it in my pocket. And I used to buy stuff after school. I remember I was real big on yo-yos and in school. In third grade, yo-yos, like, so I would buy these yo-yos, and I had a little so-called crush in third grade on this girl, and I used to go buy her. I used to buy her a ring and buy her things with this money that I would steal, and I would put it on her desk and write a note on her desk and put it on her desk with this money I had stolen. So I had picked up this stealing root early in my life, and this ruach, this demonic spirit, this root, this stealing spirit, was attached to me for a very, very, very long time, from third grade on up into my adulthood, on up into my adulthood. Um, so with that being said, from then I would over the years I would just steal. You know what I'm saying? I got caught stealing even then, and I remember when I did things. I used to even back then I would pick up my Bible before I would get in trouble. Before I would get in trouble, I remember I got in trouble. The teachers found out. They found out and they put me in this box. I had a desk in the classroom with all the students. It was 12, well, between 12 and 20 students in the classroom. This is third grade, and they put my whole desk, in a box where I could not um see anybody, and they put a slit in the box, a slit, and that's how they would give me my papers. That's how they would give me my papers. And I would have to get my papers through the slit because they found that I stole. So this was my punishment. This was my punishment from Yahuah. I used to get paddles in school by the principal in third grade. You know what I'm saying? So Barak Yahuah, this is to esteem Yahuah. This is to esteem Yahuah and Him alone. So I used to get paddles. And so I remember them telling my mom for the first time she was married to us. It wasn't my my biological dad, but he was at that time. This was the man in her life that was most like a father figure to me and all my siblings. Even though he did, and he wasn't of Yahuah obviously, but he just was. He out of everyone, like he was the one that you know had kept a job and had his own house, and I was partaking in paganism because he would get us stuff for Christmas and Thanksgivings and Halloweens and all these wicked holidays that I no longer celebrate. But at that time, I thought like he was a great father figure in regards of taking care of us, keeping a roof over our head, providing a provision for us and my mother, and he was well off more than anyone that she was married to. That was the one that was, stayed on the job and was more of a father figure than any other carnal man that she was with. But nevertheless, I got the call from she got the call from the school that I was stealing, and this is over time. I had stole plenty of money up until I got caught. I would do this like every, I can't remember the day, but I would do this continually, stealing this money out of this safe in the teacher's lounge, continually for a long time until I finally got caught. I think they even found out the amount of dollar I stole. I can't remember. If I had to estimate it, probably up to, I don't know, between $300 or $500. That's just a guesstimate. But nevertheless, when I got that call, I remember when she got that call, my mom got the call from the school. I remember that she got the call, and I would read the Bible because I knew that I was going to get corrected. I knew she was at work and she worked nights, and I thought that if I read the Bible, that I would not be corrected, or you know what I'm saying, or so I would have the Bible, and I remember reading it, not understanding. Obviously, I'm in third grade, barely probably know how to read, but I would read it and I would try to fall asleep with it by me, and perhaps that when she get home, she see that I was reading the Bible, and like I would be I would be pardoned because I was reading. I would not get corrected because she seen that I was trying to read the Bible, so I wouldn't get a whooping. But that didn't work. That didn't work. She whooped me out. She whooped me out my sleep. You know, she. I got corrected. I got tore up as I should have gotten for being rebellious, for being a rebellious child. I was one of the worst ones out of all my siblings. I always was getting in trouble. I was always stealing at a young age. I was always misbehaving. I was always giving my mom trouble as I was growing up. Um, always giving her trouble. Always being the rebellious one. I was the most rebellious one. I had two other siblings that stayed with me. They both were girl, an older sister and a younger sister. Um, but always getting in trouble, always fighting around with other children, always being, as the world would say, a class clown. I was that guy that was always in the midst of something. But as I got older, you know what I'm saying, and granted, at that time, um, you know, they had put me. They had put me on some medication. I remember taking even in the third grade. Like I was taking some pills in the third grade, going to the water fountain every morning, and they had me on some pills called ADHD pills, which I also believe was definitely not of Yahuah, and definitely could have been a cause of some of the rebellion I was in. But you know, this is not to have any excuses, but just to proclaim the mighty hand of Yahuah and his deliverance, Barak Yahuah. So, with that being said, I remember, taking these pills up until like the fourth, fifth, sixth grade, maybe fourth or fifth. And I did not like taking them. I remember, but I would thinking I had some type of ADHD problem, which they say hyperactive. You know what I'm saying? Some type of hyperactive problem. Um, but nevertheless, so with that being said, I picked up this root of stealing all the time, just all the time, all the time. I was stealing, taking things, and it got up to the fourth, fifth grade, all the way up to my adulthood. So fast forward to the end, I was raised in the church. So-called Christian non-denomination church. I remember always going to Sunday school for the longest. Um, would go to Sunday school, and it was just a thing to do for us. Never took it too serious. It was just something to do, on Wednesdays and Sundays, and to get out the house and do something, But yet I liked it. I used to try to sing in Sunday school. I remember coloring and doing all these events until I left the city that I was living in. And I ended up moving all over the place. We were all over the place from little cities until we got to Dallas. Dallas, we kind of stayed in Dallas and stayed put in Dallas. This is essentially where I was raised at, in Dallas, Texas. But with all that, I was in a little country town when all that was inspiring until I moved to Dallas, Texas. So when I moved to Dallas, Texas, and got a little older, you know, I always wanted to do good, but it was always like it never worked out that way. Like I always wanted to be that good guy, that good dude, make good grades, and I always remember saying, "I'm gonna do good this year. I'm gonna do good. I'm gonna do my work. I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna do good." And then I go to school, and I'm just tempted. And then 2 or 3 weeks in, I'm going downhill. Class clown, still in a, rebellious child, still getting into a lot of trouble, in middle school, you know what I'm saying? going to ISS all the time, getting in fights, being in little cliques, little gangs and stuff. Um, just very rebellious, and I always wanted to be the leader of the pack. Like I always wanted to be the one in front, pretty much wanting people to follow me, you know what I'm saying? Follow my rebellious, follow my lead. I came up with the clique names and the groups and things like this, and wanted everybody to follow me. You know what I'm saying? So I remember when I got to middle school, I had you know middle school, starting up little cliques and gangs and stuff, and all the way up until I got to high school. High school, same thing. Started up cliques. I had women and, or let me say, children and girls and boys following me, making cliques and wanting to be a rapper. This is when rapping came about, and I wanted to be a rapper in the world. So I used to make CDs and songs in school with rebellious songs. Now I'm starting to pick up on watching things and watching people on television, these rappers and stealing and cars and clothes, and so it just, this route just started to get worse and worse when it came to stealing, until I landed into catching some charges behind stealing. Um so when I got, I don't know, I think like 17 or 18 or something like that, I finally had my first child. Um, in in the midst of having her, a year prior to having her, I ended up um, I had a very lustful spirit. I was into into women, into girls, and trying to please man, and into dressing and trying to please other people in the way I looked, and so I would, you know still be stealing, but I always kept a job as well. But I always stole at the same time, and just to have a quick come up or something. I wanted things now. You know what I'm saying? I wanted it. I wanted quick money. I wanted it to be in my hand. You know what I'm saying? And so I remember dealing with this young lady, and I was texting her and stuff like that, and I ended up going to see her. You know what I'm saying? And in the midst of going to see her, I ended up having an encounter with her. Obviously, I was we was engaging in grown folk things, and it led to me being so manipulative. I had my homeboys come in while I was in the room with her just to steal things out of her house. And it wasn't her house. It was actually, we were both young. It was her parents' home, and she snuck me into her parents' home. So as I was engaging with her in the room, I had some of my homeboys come in and start stealing things out her parents' room, and stealing valuable goods in order to come up. So I wanted it all. I wanted the sexual perversion. I wanted the money. I wanted to be a leader. I wanted to be in a gang. I wanted to have this big man status, this big man ego, this big ego, and to having it all. And to having it all, I was very prideful, lustful, hungry, greedy of gain. Very, anything that's according to Torah, I was anything that was against Torah, I was that. I was everything against Torah. I had this root on me that was just so rebellious and so disgusting. And I was, um, I ended up, so I had a little girl around that time, and so a year later, my little girl was maybe like 1 years old, and after after I had set up that um my homeboys to come in and steal after engaging with this girl. I um I cut her off. After I did what I wanted to with someone, I would completely cut them off. Like I had no interest in you. I like the lustful spirit was so wicked on me. I would want to do something with that person, that individual, and then I would completely cut them off. Like I would delete the number, block it after I got everything I wanted from that person or that individual. Rather, if it was just sex, rather it was stealing clothes, with stealing things from them, just having my way with an individual, then I would cut them off. I would completely cut them off. So that's what I did with this chick. After because I ended up doing something with her twice, and then after the second time, I had my homeboy still in her house, and after that happened, I cut her off, and I had no more ties with her. I changed my number, and I didn't have no more ties with her for a whole no more after that time. So after a year passed, some detectives started knocking at my door. The police started knocking at my door, and my daughter was probably 1 years old. My oldest daughter, she's 15 now. My oldest daughter was 1 years old, and I had her, and they came in and they just started locking me up. They started putting my hands behind your back. You Darion, that's my government. And started putting my hands, put your hands behind your back, coming in, had my house surrounded. It seemed like the whole SWAT was out there, and I didn't know what it was for because this had happened a year prior to even me um knowing anything. I lost the track of that. You know what I'm saying? It was past me. I thought I got away with it. I thought I was smooth sailing with it. Um, but Yahuwah had plans for me. Yahuwah had plans for me, Barak Yahuwah, and I'm grateful for everything that He has allowed me to go through to this day. Um, but nevertheless, they brought me down, and I spoke to a detective, and I still didn't know. I was just asking, what am I going to jail for? What did I do? I haven't did anything. You know what I'm saying? Not knowing that I have done a lot. I just didn't know what I was going to jail for, and I thought I done got away with everything that I was doing. But my time had came in that time, so they brought me into the detective room, and they were just like, and they brought it up, and right, and from my understanding, I did not know. Like I thought I got away with that, and they were still looking for the things that we stole out of this girl's house, out of her parents' house rather, which was, some items and stuff, real valuable items, and they was looking in my home for these items, which never got, which never got, they never found. I don't believe they found anything, but nevertheless, um, they started bringing these things up of what I did and what they, and pretty much how they, have been building a case on me in regards to these things. So um, they finally they finally told me what it was about and started reading and they had text messages and everything. I had a new number. They found my old number and they got the text messages that I had wrote to my homeboys and telling them to come in and me just plotting the whole situation on how I wanted it done and how orchestrating pretty much me orchestrating on what they need to do and how they need to do it and how it need to be done and just it was they was calling me, I believe, like pretty much a mastermind at what I was doing, and I know that was nothing but the adversary because I was obviously a vessel. We are nothing but vessels. So I was a vessel being used by Hashatan in executing this orchestrated ideal on how to manipulate this young girl and to get things out of this house and to have just to want all these things for myself. So I had ended up catching a felony charge on that, and ended up having to go to jail and do some time. And this is still that root of stealing that I had on me, bound to this stealing root since I was a child, and it just kept going. It kept adding up, kept adding up. And it got worse than this, and so after that, um, I would I would go do some time. I did some time, probably like 18, 19, 20, around that age at this time. And I did some time. And I went in and did my time and got out. You know what I'm saying? And again, just got out and repeated the cycle. It was over just always girls, clothes, money, cars, any material gain that I wanted. I thought I needed it at that time. So I ended up getting out on probation. And when I was out on probation, I ended up moving back to Dallas and ended up catching another charge. I'm just going to condense it a little bit. That way this video won't be too long. I ended up catching another charge. It was kind of similar to the same thing, but this time I orchestrated, and I was just a driver at this time. And we was dealing with me and my homeboys again, dealing with some females. And we was at this vacant house this time because we didn't have no place to take them. So we were just like, we're gonna go to this. My homeboy was like, I know this place we can take them. And it was a vacant home that they were still working on. And we were drinking and dealing with these and I'm on probation at this time, so we were drinking, dealing with these girls in this vacant house real late. Um, and apparently one of the homeboys that I had, ended up putting some power drills in my car. Now, it was actually my grandma's car I was using, and he put some power drills in the back of the car that I didn't know of, but the cops got called. And then this is me being on probation at this time. The cops got called by one of the next door neighbors of the vacant house, and they came and about 1 or 2 in the morning, they pulled us over at this Walgreens, and we're drinking. There's open bottles in the car and stuff like that. Uh, Nevertheless, it was the power drills were in the back of the car. I didn't take these power drills, but since it was my vehicle, since the stolen items were in my vehicle that I never knew about, I got hit with another charge that violated my probation and went to jail. So I'm in jail again, dealing with 2 felony charges that could have gave me up to 2 to 20 years. I ended up running CC, and they ran them together and gave me about 10 years probation. 10 years probation. This is in my 20s. Um, Around my 20s, and after this, I ended up meeting this girl, and with this girl I met, this is, I'm growing up, but I still have this root of stealing on me. But I'm still working. I'm still like I kept a job, but I still was working and stuff like that. So I ended up, going to go steal. I stole so much, and and I ended up meeting this girl that I ended up getting married to that was a thief as well. So it was like, now I'm not really dealing with this root, and she's a thief. Now we we come together and we're stealing a lot of stuff. Like, um and this is but let me go back a little bit, because I had ended up catching another charge for stealing. All this is surrounded on stealing girls' clothes and all these things. Um, but I had to go back because me and this other guy, we used to steal. And we used to steal. So with this, let me go back before I get to her, because this happened before that. So I met this I knew this dude in high school, and he used and we talked about hitting licks and stuff like that, and we would go and do break into houses. We would go and break into houses. I can say all this now because I'm delivered. The Barak Yahuah has delivered me, and he has delivered me from the powers of darkness and brought me into his marvelous light, Barak Yahuah. So we used to break into homes. I picked this root was still on me heavy, and just wanting fast money, and I was getting it fast. So it was being given to me real fast after I would do it. So that would want me to that it would the root the unclean root that was in me when it was done. I would be excited to do it again because I got away with it. So I'm just feeding this unclean ruach. That's what I'm doing, because anything that's unclean had legal rights to me because I was unclean. So when you are unclean, demons have legal rights to you. So I was an unclean being. I was a vessel of the king for the kingdom of darkness. So darkness dwelt in me at this time of my life. You know what I'm saying? It dwelt in me. These ruakuts, these demonic ruakuts dwelt in me. So me and this guy, we went to when we used to hit licks on houses. We used to go into people's houses. We would make sure they wasn't home and try to go into people's houses and take things that was not ours, and we would try to sell the stuff in the hood that we don't get caught. This incident ties on with everything, all the other charges I got hit with, but at this time it got way close to me experiencing death. It got way close to me dying, because we was trying to sell it in the hood, and let alone when we try to sell it in the hood, we tried to sell it to this one guy, and he took us to this vacant house. It was actually my partner's homeboy. It was my partner's cousin, rather. We went over his house, and he knew somebody, and he lived in the hood, and he knew somebody that would buy the things that we were stealing. So, but they was in the hood. So he said, I got a homeboy that wants the stuff. So we went, and we went down the street, and he was like, yeah, I get it. And he was like, bring it to my house. So we followed him to his house, and stuff just started to get strange. The house was vacant. The house was vacant. We in broad daylight. The house was vacant. So I was like, bruh, this house is vacant. And then he was like, yeah, man, we just gonna set it in the living room. Me being very naive and young, I was very young at this time. I was like, all right, man, let's just do it. Man. So we bringing the stolen merchandise into this vacant house. And this guy ends up we end up bringing everything we had, and we was trying to get the money for it from him. And when I brought in the last thing, he drew down on me with a pistol, with a gun to my head, and told me to give up everything that I had. You know, everything in my pockets, everything that I had. You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, man, bro, like I only had $20 on me, and I remember him saying, I want your shoes too. I want your shoes too. I was like, bruh, like, you know what I'm saying? And I ended up being as dumb as I was. I ended up telling him, bro, like, I believe I told him, like, these are the only shoes. I can't give you my shoes or something like that. With him with this gun to my head, you know what I'm saying? Um, but he ended up, saying, get out the hood, get out the hood. So we went, and we started leaving, and we went back to the cousin house who told us to go there in the first place. And I think it was all a setup. But and he was just like, man, bro, he robbed y'all, and he was like, man, y'all better be glad that he didn't kill y'all or shoot, because he be on drugs. He always on drugs. Some stuff's called wet. You know what I mean? I was just like, bro. And then we ended up leaving the hood. And I was just, at that time, I was kind of like shocking, like, bro, I could have died. I could have literally died. Like, first of all, I did not know this guy. We was in the hood in a vacant house. I could have literally died, and he could have got away with it because I never knew him. Like I didn't know him at all. So I was just kind of contemplating and just shaken by that. Like, man, bro, I could have just lost my life today. You know what I'm saying? So that kind of shook me a little bit. Um, and I just look at Yahuah mighty arm, even in that, like I could have died in my sins. Literally, I could have died in my sins, but Yahuah kept me. Rock Yahuah, he kept me, and he allowed me to see another day. He allowed me to see another day. So, Rock Yahuah. So with that being said, man, I ended up. Then I ended up meeting this girl. You know what I'm saying? And I was. And again, she was a thief too. She stole, but she came to me with the manipulation as if, she went to college. She did all this stuff, and she's in college, and she sold me this dream that she did all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I bid for it, and I was talking to her for months. We ended up getting together, and she always would get me stuff. I'm talking about a lot of stuff that I liked. I was already into getting a lot of clothes and money and shoes. So she would bring me like Jordan. She would start to buy me things, worldly material stuff, and then she was on top of that very beautiful to me at that time. You know what I'm saying? Very attractive to me at that time. So I liked it, everything about her. My flesh did anyway. So she would give me these things, and I would talk to her for months, and it finally became my so-called birthday, and it was finally time for us to finally meet in person. So when I finally met her in person, um, uh, she she I was attracted by the beauty. You know what I'm saying? I was attracted by uh, everything about her, and then not on top of that, she performed a very disturbing act on me in regards of uh, I definitely had a lustful spirit with that day. She performed an act on me that I didn't think, I never thought that she would do, and that was oral sex. This video is not for children, so if you have your child watching this video, please, matter of fact, I just put it on at the end of the video that it's not for children, but she performed oral sex to me, and I very that kind of like tied the knot. Like I was like, yeah, this the one. Like I can't believe she did this, and that kind of tied the knot with me on, you know what I'm saying, with the beauty, her doing that, and then us also that same day having relations together, and it was just like, man, it was from there, it was just a spirit of lust, and we did stuff all the time. But she was still throwing this dream to me, this false dream that she was just, she went to college and she did all this. But as I got to know her more, I found out that she wasn't in college. She never was in college. She was never in college. She stole for a living. She never had a job. She never kept a job. She never was on a job, but she stole for a living. She stole all the time. Let alone I done had relations with this girl, and she ended up getting pregnant, and I'm and having my son. Um, my son. I was Not only that, I was still dealing in my rebellion and wickedness and manipulation, because I'm not guilty by a long shot out of anything I done, but Yahuah delivered me from it, Barak Yahuah. But I was still dealing with my first baby mama too, you know what I'm saying? And I remember I used to have her, my first baby mama was in college, but she was living this college life, you know what I'm saying? So she was kind of she was kind of distancing herself from me after high school, and I was just like, you know, going on, she was entering into this college world, and I was trying to be with her still in college. You know what I'm saying? While she went to college, I never went to college. I was the so-called little hood dude that I just wanted to be a gangster and didn't care about college. And I was dealing with my first baby mama, and she was getting pushed off to college, and I went to her prom and stuff like that. And nevertheless, so she was kind of like, at that time, she was kind of doing this college thing, and I was just like trying to be with her. I'm talking about the first baby mama. I was trying to be with her, and it was just like, it was kind of me just getting pushed away. Like, nah, like I'm doing this college thing now. I'm doing this college thing now. So I just was like, okay, I got to the point where, I was staying with her. I would go see her the first year, dorm and stuff. She ended up, I think, the second year of college. She ended up getting a room. She ended up getting a apartment, and I started to stay with her and work, and stuff like that. And we was still, you know, back and forth. You know, I would go up there and stuff. I was kind of staying with her a little bit, but and we working at Walmart or whatever the case. But it got to the point where I just felt a sense of, I'm moved on. I was just in the way at that time. She wanted to do this college thing, and so I was like, okay. I was like, I got kind of fed up, and I was just like, well, cool. Like, you do you, and I do me. You know what I'm saying? And that's when I started, talking to this chick more. You know what I'm saying? And and talking to her more, and you know, so I kind of left that alone, and when you know went and started talking to her more, and ended up getting her pregnant, impregnating her. And so she was pregnant, and she got pregnant, let alone, um, you know, at the time I would have her, she was already doing and giving me whatever I wanted. So I was even lying to her, telling her to drop me off. I had an uncle, I think I said I had an uncle in Denton. Can she drop me off in Denton? At my uncle's house, but she never knew that I was getting dropped off at my first baby mom's apartment and I would walk to the college campus. So I would have her drop me off, and I would go over there, and then I have her pick me up. I was just running game. I was still dealing with these demonic real coops, these demonic spirits, and having my way and wanting my way and wanting to do my thing, wanting to have it all. Have it all, you know what I'm saying? So I was dealing with both of them at the same time, and they didn't know it, or they probably did. I don't know. I think they caught on, or whatever the case may be. But I ended up getting her pregnant, and you know what I'm saying. So after that, I ended up moving to my own place in Denton, um, and um, in Denton, moving to my own place, and then she ended up coming to stay with me on where I was living sometimes, and that's when I had a baby by her, and and she would bring my son, and it just got more and more involved with each other until we ended up moving in with one another. I was also doing drugs as far as weed go. I used to smoke a lot of weed and drink alcohol. I was staying in Denton, so it was around this college lifestyle type stuff. So I ended up moving back to, the city I went to high school in, and moving back in with my sister. And this was actually my mom's house, but my mom moved out, so me and my sister kind of started a roommate there, and then I moved in my second baby mom into that place, and then we were continuing to have relations, and I was smoking weed, and she was doing pills. I believe it was opiate pills, and which is downers. So we was both just full of ruacoots and demonic with the drugs and the lust and the stealing, and then I started to find out as I got to know her that she, like, again, that she didn't go to college. She stole. Once I got to really know her, when you get to really know a person, um, so she stole. She used to steal. So this brought another. Now I'm still dealing with this real cool, these demonic spirits of stealing and all this stuff. So it just was like, okay, once I found out, um, it was like, okay, then we were just like, all right, all right, we was, what the world say, Bonnie and Clyde, like we was hitting licks and stealing together at this time, and I would still keep a little gig, but she never had a job, so she's been doing this, so I was just living it up in my 20s until, boom, I finally went to jail again. Finally went to jail again. This time, it was a charge, and it was like, if I had anywhere from 2 to 20 years, and I was locked up, I would say between 4 to 6 months. 4 to 6 months, and I ended up doing my time, getting out. This at this time, I had another daughter on the way at this time, so now I'm having multiple children with her. We still married. When I'm locked up, she's pregnant again at this time. So now I ended up having another child, or whatever the case may be. But after that, I got out, got back with her. I was on probation for the next 10 years. 10 years I was on probation. I think I did. But when I got out, I ended up I was like maybe like around 8 years left, 8 to 7, something like that. Um, so I ended up getting out, um, moved back in with her. She was just about to have the second child, and um, I had just found out not too long ago, probably right, not too long ago after I had my first child, that she had two other children that I never knew about. Well, I think I knew about maybe one, but I didn't know about the another one. And so everything started to come out, and um, all the lies is coming out and stuff like this. But now we too far. Like, I got children with her now, so I'm like, wow, you know what I'm saying? So I got to the point where I was like, we got to get married, because I wasn't finna shack up. I went to jail, and I was reading the word. I was in the Bible, trying to seek Yahuah at this time, but wasn't receiving anything in jail. It was just like me just reading pages. But I was every time I just remember throughout my whole life, every time correction came, I would try to get in the word. I would try to go back to the word, because I knew that Yahuwah was real. I knew that he was real, and I could not grasp the fact that I would just do it when I was in trouble. I would just get to the word when trouble came up on me, like, you know what I'm saying? And that's very dangerous. You know what I'm saying? That's very dangerous, because correction is love, and I know for a fact now that Yahuwah corrects the ones he loves, and he was correcting me the whole time throughout my whole life. But yeah, I was just, just I was reading my word, and when I was locked up, every time I was locked up, I would get in my word. I would be in jail just reading, but I was still dealing with her. And Yahuwah cannot, now I understand that Yahuwah revealed to me that Yahuwah cannot be around uncleanness. He would not reveal anything to me that was according to scripture. It was just like I was reading, but I didn't understand what I was reading. I did not understand nothing that I was reading. I would try hard. I would read every day. And you know what I'm saying? It was just like, it would comfort me in a way where, just because I know I did it, but I was lacking understanding. I lacked understanding. So when I got out this time, I still picked up on the drinking, and now I'm on probation, and then I try to go back to smoking. But I used to be, now at this time, I used to be like dealing with, I would go see my probation officer, but I would be smoking. I would be smoking, and then I would try to go drink little drinks or Gatorades or whatever at these smoke shops. So if I had to take a drug test that I would still pass, I would drink stuff that they had at these little drug stores that would supposedly help you pass a drug test. So I would do this for months, and not only that, I wasn't into weed like I was before, you know what I'm saying? I guess because when I was locked up, I wasn't doing it so much, and that ain't the only reason, because Yahudah was delivering me from it. That's the first reason. The Yahudah started to deliver me from smoking. So my desire for smoking, it wasn't like it was. I smoked sometimes, but I would report. But it got to the point like, now, if I violate my probation this time, I'm going to jail for a long time. Like, I knew that, you know what I'm saying? They could give me anywhere to 2 to 25 years. I believe that's what my sentence held, with all of the felonies and misdemeanors and everything else I got on my background. So, I was like, oh man, let me I would go report, and I was like, bro, like, I'm tired of going in here and being worried about failing. Like, I was tired of dealing with that on my root. Like, man, I might fail. Like, I was tired of dealing with that stress till I went to the point where I went cold turkey on the weed. I was like, Yahuah straight deliver me. I was like, I'm through smoking. I'm tired of dealing with this smoke, and I just need to go to work. And, I was a manager at Taco Bell at this time, because I always worked. It was like, but I just did other things besides work. So I worked all these years. So I ended up being a manager at Taco Bell when I got out. So I was just like, I just need to work. I need to pay my fees. I need to, do what I need to do to get out probation. I started to grow up a little bit. I had a sense of urgency into doing what I needed to do. But so I'm with her. I got my own. And I ended up getting me a spot. She moved in with me. We're married. You know what I'm saying? I stopped doing the weed. But I still would drink and stuff like that. I kind of stopped doing the weed, and I turned to like, yeah, I'm a drink. It ain't weed, but I'm a drink. You know what I'm saying? But I would smoke sometime. You know what I'm saying? I would smoke sometime, but not as much as I did. You know what I'm saying? So nevertheless, about this time, I done had a couple of children with her, but as I started to have children with her, it was revealed that she, when she had one of my children, that they ended up having opiates in their system. And I knew that, from the beginning, that she popped pills like downers and stuff like that. But I didn't know, that's all I thought it was, like, I believe. And she started to have opiates. So, and then I had found out through them that it was heroin in her system. The when we went to the doctors and she had the child, she wasn't able to get the child, like, take him home, be discharged from the. So now it's throwing me off. So I'm like, I'm starting to figure out, like, she's doing something more than just the pills. So one day she was staying with me, you know, and she ended up leaving, and I followed her, and when I followed her, I found out that I was behind her car, and she was in the parking lot, and she was doing something in the car, and I found out that she was on heroin pretty much this day. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I was like, bro, like, this girl is on heroin, like drugs, real drugs. Like, that's what I thought, you know what I'm saying? Which I was on real drugs too, but I was just like, in my mind, I was like, she on some serious, like, some stuff that she can't shake off type stuff. So I kind of, at that time, we was married and stuff. I done had multiple children with her, and I was kind of like accepting it, because I was like, man, I wanted to help her, at this time. But instead of helping her, I didn't realize that I was enabling her um, to do these things. So I definitely was part of it, because enabling is you're doing the same thing. You're helping them to you're fulfilling their desires. You're helping them to fulfill their desires. But it got to a point where I thought I was helping her, because I didn't know that the drug was so intense that it would make her sick. It was so intense that it would make her sick if she didn't have it. So I was just thinking like, we gotta get it, at this point, because, or she's gonna be sick. You know what I'm saying? And with whatever cold sweats and and all these things, and now I got the understanding that a wicked woman is for a wicked man. I was a wicked man. I was. Um, this was correction. This was love. I was going through correction. I was starting to to get that correction even harder in this season. And this was in regards of my children having opiates in her system. Me finding out that she did heroin. All these things was starting to weigh down on me. All these things were starting to, plus me being on probation. All these things were starting to weigh down on my life. And now I done had multiple children with her, and I was coming up off of probation, and I finally had completed my probation. But in the midst of completing it, Yahudah allowed me to complete it. He gave me the victory on all things. So in the midst of completing it, I'm dealing with this heroin problem in my children. Multiple of my children's coming out with heroin in their systems. Let alone I was still, um, you know, the type of guy that try to go to church on Sundays, just to get some relief, and thinking that, had this Christian mindset, wanted this so-called, I started to grow up and wanted this so-called like family for real. That's the whole reason I got married, because I told her I didn't want to shack up. So I was just very unbalanced. I was very unbalanced. And what the scriptures say, a just balance, for us to have a just balance. But a false balance is an abomination, you know what I'm saying? So I was very unbalanced. I wanted to be this man, be this so-called Christian man, go to church, and then I also wanted this life of living how I wanted to. But at the same time, I wanted her to change, and it was like, she wouldn't change. So I was like, man, then I'm gonna just do my, and I'll get to the point where I'm gonna just do my thing. Like, I'm gonna just do me, you know what I'm saying? Um, so nevertheless, she ended up, she ended up going, we ended up, moving again, and I ended up, uh, getting my children taken. Getting my children taken, and the reason I got them taken is because, um, you know, uh, someone called CPS. Someone called CPS, and the children. Some of my children was with me. Um, most of them was living with family. I never had all my children like under one roof. They was always staying with on her side of the family with this auntie, or just kind of spread it out, because I wanted to do my own thing. Not only that, she would always ask me. She really didn't want to be that mother figure in their life. It was just like I was having children with her, but she never wanted to stand up and raise the children. And I was also enabling her as well, in regards of submitting myself to the will of a woman through manipulation. So I would just be like, yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Um, but nevertheless, it was not okay. It was not okay at all. So, um, with that being said, the children got taken, and they didn't get taken from my house because I didn't have them, but they got taken from another house This is another form of correction that they were living with. They were living with her. I think it was her cousin, but she's older. It was her cousin, and they were living with her. But her mom was jealous of her cousin because her cousin had our children. So her mom was the one reason CPS got called, because her mom knew that they did, I guess, did things in this house as well that contains the drugs. So the whole family just seemed like they were on drugs, and so they got taken from that house and brought to my house. My children, a couple of them anyway, like three of them. But some of my children were already, um, in CPS and with foster care because um, they were born with heroin in their system. So all this stuff is hitting me from probation. All this stuff in my 20s is starting to boom, boom, everything. I'm just getting hit with the proverbial sink at this time. I'm just everything left to right, and just shaking. I was just getting shaken and everything. They were saying how I got my children back for a season, but I had her living with me, and at this point, I was like, I was gonna try to work it out. I was gonna try to get her to go to some type of rehab, and she was in agreement that we could go to rehab and we can get the children back together. So CPS was like, okay, they want to work it out. Um, so it started like that, but all along she was manipulating me, and saying that she wanted to do these things and saying that she was doing these things, and she really wasn't. So my children are separated from me, and and we both have to go visit them. On visit, we got visitation rights to see them every month at this time. So we would go see them, and they had started putting me on all these classes, these men classes, how to raise children, all this stuff I had to do. It was stimulations I have to do in order to get my children back. And so I'm just living by myself at this time. And at this time, boom, here comes the pandemic. Here comes the pandemic. Everything else is already hidden. All this stuff is already hidden, and then the pandemic hit. And now it's like, whoa, like now I'm living, and now I'm being fearful, and I'm so much stuff hitting me at once that I just broke down, and I started to seek Yahuah. I started to seek Yahuah with everything I had. Um, my children was gone. I've been, stealing all this time, lust, all this stuff was up on me. I was dealing with all these pressures of this life, of this age, of darkness, of this confusion, of this woman that was manipulative, this, understanding that now I'm starting to seek him with all I have, to the point where I just stopped eating. I just stopped eating. I stopped eating. I continued to work. I was a truck driver. I've had been a truck driver for a couple of years at this point. I started to get real skinny, real depressed, real skinny. Seeking him. Everything was hidden. Like everything was falling on me. So I got real skinny, and so skinny to the point where my job told me to go take a drug test because they thought I was doing drugs. This is how skinny I was. But I was just depressed. I was going through it. I was fearful. All this stuff was just crumbling down. So I took the drug test, and let alone I passed it. I've been passing drug tests for months because I was I was dealing with CPS, and I was trying to get my children back. But it got to a point where they was like, okay, I'm doing everything I was supposed to do, and she's just right here. She had to do classes and all these things too. She had the same stimulations, but her stimulations was a little worse than mine because she was dealing with drugs. Well, they were way worse than mine because she was dealing with drugs. So she had to, I had to take drug tests, but I wasn't on drugs. So I just I wasn't doing anything. I had a trucking job. I couldn't do anything. I knew my I didn't. First of all, Yahuah took the desire from me. Second of all, my job does randoms. Third of all, I didn't care for them. Fourth of all, I'm dealing with CPS. So I was not doing any drugs. So I would pass all my drug tests. I'm just I'm doing all my tests. I'm doing everything that I need to do. Let alone she's staying stagnant. She's staying right here, and but she's steady lying to me, saying that she's doing the things that they're asking her to do. But I would find out when I go meet with the CPS people, and they say, she hasn't did anything. She hasn't did anything. You're doing all that you need to do. She hasn't took one test. She hasn't done anything. So she's lying and saying she's taking drug tests. She's passing them. She so delusional that she's believing her own lies that she tell me. That's how manipulative she was, and at the same time, I'm seeking Yahuah at now through this, and I'm just seeking Him with all I have. Even though I'm calling on the name of JC, even though I'm calling on the name of Jesus, I'm seeking Yahuah with all I have. You know what I'm saying? My heart, with all my heart, my mind, and my strength. I'm wanting to know like how to serve Him now. I'm to the point where I just want to serve Him. I just want to serve Him. The pandemic here, all this stuff is hitting. Now I'm like, if I die in this, I'm going to hell. If I die, because I've been living in sin, and this is when He started. But I'm seeking Him with all I have. So this is where He started um, to deliver, starting to deliver me. And I had met this guy because now I want to get baptized. I got a zeal to do righteousness. I got a zeal to do what I'm supposed to be doing. I want my children back. I want, all this stuff has shaken me to the point like I couldn't be shaken no more. I want to serve Yahuah. I want to be obedient. I want to align myself with His scriptures. But with my Christian mindset, I was dealing with something. I was dealing with on how to, because I was married, I was dealing with I thought that only way that we are to get divorced, or only way it's capable or eligible for me to get divorced, if I caught her in the act of adultery. That's what I thought. That was the that's what I thought that I had to do. I had to catch in an act of adultery. So I was like, well, I didn't know. I just wanted to do what was right at this time. So I was dealing with my beliefs, but I was also dealing with CPS, and I wanted answers from Yahuah on how about to get through with this. I needed answers from Him, and I started to seek the answer through man, because I ended up seeking Yahuah, and I ended up wanting to be baptized. So I started calling. I started trying to go to church. Now I'm going back to Christianity. I need to get back in church. I need to stop playing with church. Like, this is what I thought. And I met this guy, and I was so eager and thirsty to do Yahuah's will at this time. I met this guy. I wanted to get baptized. So I met this guy on the internet, and I see that he was just, he was doing things that had my interest. And I was like, but he called on the name of Jesus. And let alone, all I knew was church. And go to church and go get the word. And I'm thinking this is truth. And when I met him, this is when Yahuah started to reveal to me that the church was false. Even though this guy, he called on the name of Jesus, and he wasn't walking in truth, but Yahuah was feeding me little by little, because that's what He do. He won't give you too much. He will give you a little bit at a time, because He won't put too much on you that you can't handle. So he was telling me, like, I met him, and we was starting a fellowship, and I was just telling him that I was going through all this stuff in my mind and all my situation, and I just wanted to get baptized. So I ended up getting baptized. I ended up getting baptized, going down to this lake and getting baptized. He put hands on me, and I got baptized, which is the false way. That is the false way. But Yahuwah revealed that to me later. But after that, I was just talking to him every day, which is me. Uh, I was still dealing with Ashley coming in the house, still dealing with CPS, and I was I remember talking to him, and he just was like that I should leave church alone, stop going to the church. The church house is not good. It was not good. And in my head, I'm like, what are you talking about? I got to get back to this. Like I've been in the world, so called in the world, but I got to get back to this. And he was just like, you got to just seek Jesus. And, he was saying seek him. And I was like, bro, like, I was like, I am doing that. That's what I've been doing. Like, what are you talking about? And then he was just like, so I got so desperate that I started to seek that because he kept saying like, are you hearing from him? Are you hearing from him? Are you hearing for Jesus? Like, and I was like, bro, like, I was wondering why, out of my desperation, why can't I hear from him the way he's making me seem, the way he's making it seem I need to hear from him? Like, I guess a audible voice. So I'm just like, please, I'm begging him to speak, like, say something. Like, I'm talking about Jesus, the false, the false Jesus. I don't believe in that no more. But nevertheless, this is my testimony. So so we got to a point where he, I got so eager and so to get delivered. I was like, I couldn't get these thoughts out my head. I was just bolded with all these thoughts in my head, and I was like, man, you know what I'm saying? I need to be delivered. Like, so I called this guy, and when I called this guy, he was of this church, and I was looking for deliverances, and I was online, and he was talking about all these things and I was seeing these people, like, I'm thinking they got delivered, because all I see is him so-called casting out demons, and these people are going crazy, like these demons are coming out of them. And he said and Yahuwah already said a wicked generation seeketh after a sign. But and I believe, it's definitely believe it's of your heart. You know what I'm saying? Yahuwah can deliver you. It's the desperation of your heart. Even though I was in falsehood, I believe wholeheartedly, but it was the desperation of my heart that Yahuwah weighs the heart of man. So I called this guy, and I let him come over, and I had Ashley over there, and I'm like, I just want to be delivered, bro. Like, not knowing what I was doing, not knowing nothing. I said, I just want to be delivered. I want to be delivered. I think I'm full of demons. I'm having all these bad thoughts in my head every day. I've been seeking, I just want to hear his voice and sing. Whatever I told him, I was just desperate. And he started to, like, put his hand and speak, and telling me to speak in tongue, doing all this stuff like speak in tongue, and the holy, the Holy Spirit. I don't believe in none of this now. Just to clear that up, I do not believe in the Holy Spirit. I believe in the Ruach Hakodesh, but again, this is my testimony. So I started to do what he was saying, and he was just like, come out of him, and you know what I'm saying, and I was just like, just trying to obey what this guy was telling me to do with his hand on my head. And he was, and I was like, okay, and I was so excited after that, and then they started to do Ashley. They put their hand on her head, and they was like, come out of her, and come out of her. And I kid you not, they was down there for a long time. They were down there for a long time, and they were just like, he was like, they won't come out of her, like, um, they won't come out of her, and I believe like something manifested in her, and when they said come out of her, it said no, like, no, we won't. Like, they manifested in her where they said no, like, And I believe like this stuff is true. This stuff is true. On behalf of, I had a desperate heart to get delivered, and with her, she was bound so bad that they would not come out, you know. Um, but we know that if we got any understanding, we know that it's Yahuwah who delivers. And even though I was in ignorance and I was calling on the wrong name, Yahuwah weighs the heart. Yahuwah weighs the heart. So I wholeheartedly believe now he was revealing to me that day that, you know, I was seeking him with my whole heart, my whole mind, and my whole strength, all my strength, even though I was not calling on his true name, even though I was um I was letting a man touch me in all this stuff, because later on he revealed to me his truth. And so later on, by my desperation, he woke me up to truth wholeheartedly. But in her case, it was just a mimicking spirit. She was just doing it because I was doing it. It wasn't with a sincere heart. So she had a mimicking ruach on her. She had a mimicking ruach on her. So in that regards, I called my mom. I was so excited. I was like, I've been delivered. I got these demons out of me. I was excited. I was excited. I was so excited. I was like, I got these demons out of me. I was so excited. I remember being so excited. And I ended up talking and ended up talking to that guy. And this when Yahuwah revealed to me that it was all, you know, I believe that he weighed my heart and he led me into all truth, but he also revealed to me that it was false in regards of you know, this spirit they was operating in. The spirit these men was operating in, it was false. And he didn't have to show me any of this. So I called the guy back, and I was just like so excited. I was like, dude, I've been delivered. I've been delivered. You know what I'm saying? And I had not been. I had not. Yahuwah weighs the heart, but I had not yet been truly delivered. But he showed me the falsehood in it, but he still weighed the heart. But I wasn't truly delivered. But Yahuwah knew and led me to 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 the truth of, to the true deliverance, Barak Yahuwah, in the midst as my walk carried on. Um, but I called him. I was like, I've been delivered, bro. I've been delivered. I've been delivered. And I told him like this what happened. Watch the video, and he was like, sorry to tell you, bro, but that was a Kundalini spirit. This dude is operating in the Kundalini spirit. And I was like, Kundalini. And then I had looked it up, and I had realized it was a snake spirit. It was a snake spirit. I was like, back down to ground zero. I went. I was so convicted. I was like, bro, I call you. I think I told him I'll call you back. I was crying. I was like, again, like just tired of the deception, just the deception and the manipulation. And I was going through it. I was like, man, bro, like going through it. But I remember him revealing to me that I took heed to what he said, because I remember that he told me that before he so-called came to the truth, which he wasn't in the truth, but Yahuwah still using him, because Yahuwah can do all things. He still was being used. But he was telling me that he was an he did something in regards of, he used to worship Hashatan or something like that. So he knew, I guess, about all this stuff. And but that's Yahuwah used him to reveal to me what them guys was operating in. But these guys were so called from a church. These guys were so called from a church, and now I'm like, bruh, these dudes are doing. I'm thinking they doing the works, you know, righteous work. And but this is when I was like, man. So I just, you know, I kind of was like, I kind of like let him go, like stop talking to him after that, because I just feel like every time I spoke with him, like it wasn't no, it was like I wasn't getting anywhere. It was like I was always doing something wrong. And then he was telling me to leave the church. So, and when I talked to my mom, she was like, "Anybody telling you to leave the church, you need to get away from them." So I was like, "Bro, I got to get away from this guy." You know what I'm saying? Nevertheless, it was some other things that he believed in that I just wasn't. It wasn't of Yahuwah, and Yahuwah revealed that to me as well. But that was a starting point for me. So with all this going on, this happened. I just stopped. I just stopped talking to him, and I went. I was like, man, I'm just finna do the will of, at the time, JC. That's what I was calling him. And I would just, I drew up a board, and I remember I was staying with this board, and I'm thinking, like it'll say repent for Jesus on his way, or whatever the case may be. And I was going through all these things, and I was telling and I would just make food, not to boast in this. This is, again, this is my testimony. I would make food, and I would go give it to the homeless. So after this, I would go give food to the homeless. I met this guy out there, and we was feeding the same person, or Yahuwah was feeding this guy through us, and he was like, "Man, take my number down. Do you want a fellowship or something?" I was like, "Yeah, bro." Like, yeah. So I got his number. We exchanged number. I started to text him, and he started to bring out some scriptures that we must do, and because again, I was in Christianity, and he also was in Christianity. It's just another form of this guy that I met, but it started to be baby steps on me getting to know Yahuwah, and so we started on the Shabbat. He was like, "We're gonna be keeping the Shabbat." I'm like, "Shabbat? Y'all keep the Shabbat?" Oh yeah, this is what that other guy didn't believe in. Like, we had to keep the Shabbat. So this is another reason I was more confirmation on why I stopped talking to him, and was even more willing to stop talking to him when I found out that the Shabbat must be kept, because he didn't believe in this at all. He believed what the Christians believe, because he was a Christian, and that the Shabbat, we ought to rest in him. He is our Shabbat, but that we don't keep it, like we don't guard it, and we definitely do guard the Shabbat wholeheartedly. I'm not wavering in my belief no more. Yahuwah revealed that to me, and I cannot be moved. Um, so he was like, "We got to keep the Shabbat," and I wrestled with him with this, like, cause let alone, I don't know nothing, but I'm in scriptures more than ever, probably ever I have been in my life. But I was just in the new, so-called renewed testament. No, it is the renewed testament. Sorry about that. Excuse me. Sorry about that, Abba. But they was calling it the New Testament, but it's more accurately called the renewed testament. So I never went to the Torah. I never went to Genesis, and I probably went to it before, but I thought it was, with this Christian mindset, I thought it was done away with. But nevertheless, I was like, we ain't gotta keep it no more. Like, I'm believing this lie that we ain't gotta keep it no more. But he has we are to rest in him. He's like, "No, bro, we gotta keep it." And he was just like, "We gotta keep the Shabbat." And I was wrestling with this subject with him for probably days, until Yahuwah finally revealed to me, "Yeah, we gotta keep it. We gotta keep it. We had to keep it." So I started the fellowship with these guys, and the name of this organization is called IOG, Israel of God. I don't fellowship with these guys no more. Neither do I believe like what they speak is truth. I mean, they got some truth in it, like any other religion. It's sprinkles of truth in it, but it's surrounded with a whole bunch of falsehood, which is mixing the clean with the unclean, which is making you lukewarm, as it calls it in Revelation. Because of some things that they don't keep, and some things they do, and we must keep all of the Torah. We must keep all of his words. Ain't none of it's done away with. But Yahuwah started to show me that we ought to keep the Shabbat, so I started to fellowship with these guys. on Saturday. Rather, it was Friday night to Saturday night. Is how they go out to Shabbat, which is inaccurate as well. Because Yahuwah, he's the lure of light. There is no darkness in him. So you don't start his Shabbat day at nighttime. You started on the seventh day, which is what man calls Saturday, and it begins when the sun rises, and it ends when it sets. And the word says they're not 12 hours in a day. So keeping it from Friday night to Saturday night is more than 12 hours. When the first of all, and he is not the lure of darkness. That's Hashatan. So he's not gonna start his set apart day in darkness. He is, it says he is light, and in him there is no darkness. So why would you start his set apart Sabbath on at nighttime? But nevertheless, we're not here for that. But I started to guard it the wrong way, but as I kept walking and kept trusting in him, he started to shine light on darkness, and I wasn't in. I didn't. With me, my heart posture wasn't in it for just. Oh, I just want some guys to study with. No, if it's not truth, then I was willing to let it all go. That's how hungry I was. I wasn't in it for the crowd. I wasn't in it for no, just for I was in it for Yahuwah. I was in it for Yahuwah. So, after a while, if he showed me something that then I would take heed, because he said to obey him, and I have to obey him rather than man. But this is where I started at, when I started to align myself more, at least trying to obey him as much as I can with the information. I was trying to give it my all, and I also instituted this to Ashley on, do you want to go to Shabbat's? Which she said yes, and then she declined. And I'm still dealing with CPS at this time. Still dealing with CPS. Just keep that in your mind. But I'm fellowshipping with these guys. I'm letting them know a little more about myself. I'm telling them everything that I'm going through, and then that question come up about uh divorce. Cause in my root, in my spirit, I'm feeling like that's what I have to do. I'm just waiting on confirmation on Yahuwah to show me that this is what I need to do. Cause I didn't want to, my whole thing was just to be well pleasing to Yahuwah. So I was just still with her, cause I didn't know if I was supposed to divorce her. But in my spirit, I feel like I was, but I wasn't going to move unless I got the confirmation, if that makes sense. So, um, they could not answer that question. They cannot answer that question. Now, so they were just like, have you, have she committed adultery? And I'm like, nah, bro. But I just feel like she was an uncleanness. She was, not only that, it's something I didn't bring up, but she was dibbling and dabbling with real witchcraft as well, that I had seen her in and witnessed it prior to that whole situation. But I was so naive of it, and so caught up in the carnal love, that it wasn't a big thing to me. It was just like, I can't believe you cheating. Like, I can't believe that this is what you're doing. But she was literally, seeking out witches, and into paying money, and trying to put spell on people for real. No, like literally, she was a witch. She was a witch. She was a witch, but that was blinding my eyes. The witchcraft stuff was blinding my eyes, because of the carnal love. Because of the carnal love. So I knew all these things. I knew that I have caught her in the act of doing these things. I have seen it through her emails and stuff like that. But nevertheless, so I knew that she was a witch. I knew that she was a witch, but I didn't understand the scripture, and neither was I in Torah, and I didn't understand a lot of things in the word. So that blinded the carnal love blinded my eyes. The carnal love blinded my eyes. So with that being said, they couldn't give me a direct answer, and that was so confusing to me. That was so confusing to me on why they couldn't. I even went to an elder that was so called in IOG, and he couldn't answer that question either. Then it came. So this is still on the shelf. This whole thing about me wanting to get a divorce, or if I should or shouldn't. I just wanted to do the right thing. This is on the shelf. Let alone I'm still dealing with CPS. So CPS ended up telling me, yeah, that she hasn't been doing anything. Another meeting come up, and she hasn't been doing anything. And they finally came to the point where they was like, um, if you don't leave her, then you're not getting your children back. If you don't leave her, then you're not getting your children back. Let alone I'm still having interactions with her. I'm still having relations with her. But as I'm having relationships with her, and as I'm trying to draw closer to Yahuwah, this is when I started to realize that Hashatan was using her. This is um to keep me from obeying Yahuwah, even though I was calling on the name of Jesus. But she was very manipulative. So she was, with the CPS stuff, telling them that, telling me lies, telling me she was doing it, believing her lies, telling me all this stuff. And then it came to a point where they was like, if I don't leave her, then I can't get my children back. So this is where, Hashatan tries to use her to he wanted me to pick her over my children. And this is where it falls at. And she was like, so I told her she gotta go. I said, you gotta go. But yet I'm still like playing tug of war, like, you know what I'm saying, with my belief, and you know, when I know what I want to do, but I'm still battling. You gotta understand, I'm still battling with this thought on, am I supposed to be divorcing her? Am I supposed to be divorcing her because I just want to do what's right in Yahuwah's eyes? And I had the mindset is, my mindset from this carnal standpoint was what I was brought into was Christianity, and the strong delusion that Christianity had me thinking that I cannot divorce her because she has because she I have not caught her in the act of adultery with my physical eyes. This is what I'm thinking. So this is where I'm tug of war. This is where it's at. Like I need this answer, and IOG couldn't give me the answer, but CPS saying you have to leave her if you want your children back. So I'm like, okay, I'm feeling like I'm starting to get an answer with this. So it got to the point one day I was just like, you gotta go. You gotta go. You know, in the midst of this, she would text me outside my house for hours saying I'm just gonna leave her outside in the dark, in the cold, in the rain, in her car. Can she just come in? She would do this for weeks. And then I would give in and I would have relationships with her. I think I did it like once or twice, had relationships with her. She would do all these wicked things to me, and this carnal stuff to me, taking. That's why you are not to give your strength to a woman through the lust of this wicked flesh. But when we did stuff at this time, well, it started happening before this time, but I would feel so disgusting, like I was going straight to hell. I would feel so disgusting. Let me say it again, like I was going straight to hell after I had interactions with her. So after this, I got so fed up one time of the text and of the calls. I said she had to go. I finally came out to the realization that, um, uh, like I was finna lose my children behind her. I told her I'm not losing my children behind you. You have to go. You have to go. You have to go. You know what I'm saying? So it got to the point where I got so fed up one day that I left. I got tired of her sitting outside the house. Got tired of her texting me. Got tired of her just sitting there texting me every day, paragraphs after paragraphs after paragraphs after paragraph. That I called. His name was D. I called D, the guy that I met. That's an ILG that I believed at that time was my brother. Um, because I was fellowshipping with them for a couple of months at this time. I was like, bro, I gotta go. Like I was to the point where I didn't care what they told me because they, I just was like, I gotta go. I gotta go. Let alone I had watched, I believe I forgot what little snippet I watched on YouTube, and I watched this elder, and I knew that Yahuwah was speaking through this elder on YouTube. I knew for a fact. And I reached out to this elder before that night, and I told, and it was just on my route that I had to leave. I had to go. I had to go. So I was like, I'm getting paid Friday. I don't know where I'm going, but can I just stay at your house for 3 days? Can I stay at your house Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for 3 days? And he was like, yeah, bro. Yeah, it's fine. And I told her I was leaving, but I didn't let her know where I was leaving. I didn't want her following me. I didn't want her texting me. This time I blocked her number. I went over there, and I remember reaching out to this elder. Nobody could give me this answer. Only Yahuwah gave me this answer. And I called him, and I asked him. I told him to reach out. That I wanted to. Now at this time is when I found out. I kind of started not hanging out with ILG no more, and not as much because I started not to believe in the name anymore. JC, they called on Jesus, and through this elder, and after I got immersed, because I ended up getting immersed through ILG too, but I was going through it so bad that you know what I'm saying. I started Yahuwah put in my root like this is not his name. And then I realized that I had partook. When you get an immersion and a man touch you and you dip you backwards in the name of Jesus, I had realized I had partook in a pagan blood ritual. I had realized that I had partook in a pagan blood ritual, but this came later where I found it out, or Yahuwah revealed this to me too, because he will lead you into all truth. He was revealing things to me, and so I went to his house for 3 days. Um, and I told, and I reached out to him, and he emailed me back this elder that I believe wholeheartedly is Yahuwah's servant, that was anointed with that's been anointed, and was operating in the spirit of our Yahu, that was operating in the spirit of our Yahu. So I reached out, and he told me that he can call me the next day. What time I get off, we can exchange emails for a little bit. And he said, and because I had this question for him, uh, ultimately for Yahuwah, and I've been seeking him, and I was doing all this seeking and stuff. And I asked him, that's when I asked him, um, about he reached back out the next day. Sorry, getting a lot of stuff getting mixed up. He reached back out the next day, and that's when I finally got to ask him. I was like, wondering if I should get a divorce. Um, and I was telling him like everything pretty much that I'm telling y'all today on what has transpired, what I've been going through, all this stuff that's done happened in my life, and and he was like, and I was like, but my question is, I needed to know, was I supposed to get a divorce or not? Because I believe in the scriptures, and I just want to be well pleasing to Yahuwah. Not only that, I want to be immersed in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach for the forgiveness of sin, because Yahuwah revealed it to me, not only through that video that Elder did, but I believe somewhere else. I forgot. I can't tell you exactly. I just know that Yahuwah revealed his name to me, and I wanted to be immersed in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, for the forgiveness of crimes, because I had been immersed in the name of Jesus twice, and it was revealed to me that he's false. He is the anti-Messiah, Jesus. But nevertheless, I was hungry to get immersed. I was hungry to to know this truth. I was hungry, and he told me, he was like, "Have she been manipulating you with sex?" I said, "Yes, yes, sir. Have she did this, that, and the third? Have she, is she ruling over you in regards of like sexual stuff?" And I was like, "Yes, sir." And he was by the end of the conversation, after telling him everything that was going on, he said, "You must," and I believe this came from Yahuah. He said, "You must leave or you will die. You must leave or you are going to die, that you are sleeping with Satan, you are sleeping with Hashatan, that you are sleeping with Satan himself. And he is the one who got the grips on you, that you must leave or you will die." I never went back. I never went back. That was the second day. That was the second day I believe I talked to him. I never went back. It's been 4 or 5 years, never went back. After that, he said, he was like, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Dallas, Texas." He said, "I got some brothers down there." He gave me 2 numbers. And y'all remember I said I needed 3 days. I don't know where I was going, but I was leaving. And he was like, "I got some brothers down there, that stay in Dallas. I'm gonna give you their number. I'm gonna exchange your numbers. You let me know when you talk to them." I said, "Yes, sir." So I ended up calling one of them. They answered. Then I ended up calling my brother, brother YAHUAH, my brother to this day. And I was and Elder reached out to him, and I told him, "Say, bro, I don't know, we met up and stuff like that, got to know each other on the phone and chopped it up for a little bit." He was like, "Where you stay?" And gave him the rundown. Like, "I don't know where I'm going, but um, I'm just out here right now, pretty much, and I'm gonna get it figured out Friday." And he said that he just had moved to an apartment. He just had moved to an apartment, and that it's a 2-bedroom apartment, and that second room was mine. And that second room was mine. Right, Yahudah, you can't make this up. And I was at his apartment that Friday, and Yahudah delivered me from the hands of Hashatan, and I never looked back. I've been on this journey ever since. I've been on the journey ever since. I ended up getting all my children back after a couple of months. I ended up filing for a divorce. Yahudah granted me the divorce. I got full custody of them. Um, yeah, man. He and he's just from then started revealing to me when I had separated myself. When I had separated myself from wickedness, when I have separated myself from wickedness, is when he started to deliver me. When you are willing to flee from darkness, when you are willing to flee from the powers of darkness, when you are willing to let it all go, when you are willing to obey him with your whole heart, mind, and soul, and your strength, when you are willing to serve him, when you are willing to let it all go, then he begins to heal your land. Then he begins to remove the chaff that is within you. Then he is able to draw you close to him, and him draw near to you, because Yahudah cannot be around uncleanness. He cannot be around uncleanness. So when you are in the midst of uncleanness, he cannot be there. So you have to get up and separate yourself and start in full belief that Yahudah will deliver you from the hands of darkness, and full belief that if you just obey him. But the best thing about it is him delivering me from darkness. But out of all those elders and those other brothers in ILG, that I thought that was my brothers, they cannot answer that question. But he took me straight to the Torah. He did not give me his own words, y'all. He did not give me his own words. He took me to the Torah, where it says, if you find any matter of uncleanness in a wife, that you write her a bill of divorcement and put her away. And put her away. And that was the answer I was looking for. That was the answer I needed. And he took me straight to Torah without any hesitation. It wasn't no wavering in his belief. He said, go to Deuteronomy. Took me straight to scripture where it is written. Yahuwah words are powerful. That's when I knew the Torah. The Torah was the way, the truth, and life. That's when I knew that the church was false. I started beginning to realize the church was false because they want you to stay bound, and deliverance is only in the blood of Yahudah. So he is our deliverance, and the Torah is our deliverance. So I got set free by the Torah, by the living Torah. The chains was broken off of me, and ever since that day, chains just started falling. Yes, I had some slip ups, but yet he still was there. He still started to reveal himself. He started telling me, no, that's wrong. Yep, that's wrong. It's this way. He started holding me by my hand. It's this way. That's wrong. That's wrong. And ever since then, bro, he been with me ever since then. Through everything, he been with me. So the only way is the word. The only way is the word, Yahuwah's word. That is what's gonna set us free from the powers of darkness. That is what's gonna set us free from the hands of Hashatan. That is what's gonna set us free from the land of Mizraim. It's the blood, the precious dawn. And he revealed everything else to me. And he continues to reveal things to me. I pray that I'll be found worthy. I'll be found well doing. Because I'm nothing but dirt that desires to do his will. Yahuwah is good. His arm is mighty. And y'all, I'm trying not to shed a tear in here, so I'm going to go on and wrap this up, man. And I just pray that y'all seek Yahuwah with all you have, with all your heart, mind, and soul. And just taste to see that he is good. Right, Yahuwah. And be willing to give it up. Be willing to give up all. Be willing to give up all. We are living in some treacherous times right now. Be willing to give up all. I pray this was a barakah to some, to all. Excuse me. I pray this was a barakah to all those who watch this testimony. It's gonna be a couple of more that I'm gonna do. It's gonna be I'm gonna allow my wife to do hers. It's gonna be a couple of more we do and how we met. Just to encourage the body and encourage those who are willing to do the righteousness of Yahuwah and willing to serve him with a whole heart, mind, and soul. So until the next time, y'all, shalom, shalom.